Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Looking Deeper. Welcome to, almost the new year. It's a beautiful Wednesday here in West Michigan, and I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you happen to be out in the world. Tonight on Looking Deeper, we are going to talk about great expectations and keeping it real, or great expectations versus keeping it real. And tonight, Sandra Herrick will be joining me. Here she is right now. Hey, Sandra Herrick.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm a little bit late, but I'm here.
Yeah, we're in the studio, and I'm welcoming people to the broadcast and talking about the fact that tonight we're visiting the subject of great expectations versus keeping it real, and keeping it real.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Absolutely. It was a great suggestion that you had.
Thank you. After the holidays, I'm getting all situated here. After the holidays, I think it's always good to talk about what we thought it was going to be, what it turned out to be, what we wanted to be, what it wasn't. Did we survive? What do we do with this kind of anxiety or hope? And how do you stay real?
I love that idea. How do you stay real, Sandy?
I have an attitude.
Have you ever been so disappointed that you stay in the disappointment stage for a really long time until you can figure out how to maneuver getting yourself to a place of being real?
Well, to be fair, my disappointment is real, but it may be real because I had expectations that were not real. And so I set myself up of what I thought I was going to have or what I wanted to have or the fantasy of having the expectations or the hopes or not conveying to somebody what I was hoping for or even conveying it and being disappointed because they didn't come through. So I've got a tickle, I'm sorry. So the answer is I'm gonna go with two of my favorite disappointments in life as a child that set me up and kind of brought on the reality of the innocence of a child versus having to grow up. And my first one that I can honestly say is when I was 12 years old, in that memory of, oh my God, it's my birthday. I'm one of 7 kids, so you sacrifice your whole life to the other family members, doing and being and da-da-da-da. And it was my birthday, and my father was supposed to bring home my birthday cake. I remember the striped shirt that I was wearing. I remember the funny hairdo of that time that I had, and I was a bit of a lumpy dork, just a kid. And my father came home, and I was all excited to get my birthday cake. He was bringing home my birthday cake. And I was like, ran to him and, did you bring my birthday cake? And he said, as dry as toast without butter, no, I forgot it. And that slam into that child need, innocence, hope, to be special, to have someone deliver the package, to be allowed to celebrate and be celebrated. I remember frumpily sitting on the chair, slumped over, trying not to cry. And my mother comes in, what? Daddy forgot my birthday cake. And it was like, Richard. And he was like, what? I'm only kidding. And him kidding was as painful as me believing that he didn't get it.
Aww.
It's that kind of thing, and I think this for everybody. When somebody does something and they go, well, I was only kidding. But it's like, yeah, but why would you want to hurt me?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want me to become so sad? Why the sucker punch? The next one that I want to talk about is Christmas, when all of a sudden I went down early Christmas morning and opened up all my gifts, and I was too old to be a kid anymore, so we got clothes. It was, oh no. I mean, I was so disappointed with, like, oh, a shirt, oh, a sweater, and, and so I wrapped everything back up. It was when the boxes were fake wrapping paper, so, you didn't have to buy the wrapping paper. You just put a bow on top. And I did the whole thing. And then Christmas morning, I opened up my gifts, and my mother was just like beside herself with disappointment because I was so disappointed.
Aww.
And it's that place where she talked to me. She goes, Sandy, and I confessed, I came down and I saw it, but it's like, growing up is a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's our expectation of growing up? What's our expectation of being surprised or loved? Or, and I'll share this one. We got to go to you. I remember, I didn't get the guy that I wanted to get because he got somebody pregnant, and we used to have coffee and donuts in the morning when I was going to art school. And he had this friend that was with him, and he asked me out for New Year's Eve right in front of this guy. And I thought, yeah, I'll go out with you and make him jealous. I went out and got a beautiful outfit. And then he said, oh, no, we're just going to a friend's house to play cards. And it was like, what? I was so Scorpio mad, so disappointed. And I went out with him, but it was like I took my outfit back. I've never, ever, ever had a successful New Year's Eve. And I'm going to say that now because here it comes. And if we ever get disappointed, it's like, oh, my God, New Year's Eve is like, I see it coming and I want to just drive by.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, my love? How about you?
I think one of my greatest disappointments that I can remember being just devastated was as a kid. I always played sports. I started playing baseball when I was in first grade.
Wow.
Yeah, I was the only girl on an all-boys team because back then, little girls didn't play baseball, but the Sarge made sure I was on the team. So I started playing sports in first grade, and, I remember in junior high and high school, my parents never came to any of my sporting events.
Wow.
Except that in 8th grade, I was brought up to the high school aged level for the city championship, softball championship. So they brought up this young kid to play with the high school girls. And they put me at catcher, which was fine with me. That's how I started my career with baseball and softball. And I remember my parents saying that they would see me at the game. And I was so excited because here I was in 8th grade playing with the older girls. And Mom and Dad finally saying, yep, we're going to come see you play.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting on the bench between innings, and they never showed up.
Wow.
And we ended up winning the championship.
Oh, my God, Dana.
We won the whole doggone thing. And
wow.
Yeah. And they never showed up for the game, and they never showed up for the after celebration. So that's really the first time when I really knew what deep disappointment felt like for me.
Well, let me ask you the question you asked me. How long did it take you to process, to get through it, to even ask them what happened? What happened?
What happened was that my brother had hockey practice, off-season hockey practice, and I believe they were, otherwise engaged in something else. I can't even remember the whole explanation that they gave me. And I knew in that moment that I just needed to get used to the fact that they, were never going to watch me play sports. And I needed to be okay with that. But it was really disappointing because they never missed a hockey game or any sort of a thing that my brother did. So that was a great disappointment for me.
Well, let's go a little deeper here. Disappointment, but you were abandoned.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a trade-off. You were chosen over, or not chosen.
Right. Yeah.
So other than being disappointed, where's the hurt? Anger? I mean, what else is in there?
Well, when I was real little, first grade, second grade, all that kind of a thing, third grade. And you know how back in the day you had your Christmas shows that you did where you'd go up on stage. And my parents didn't show up for any of those either. The neighbors would always take me. And I was kind of sort of okay with that because I was a really crappy singer and I knew it. And, but I was really,
you
really
do great air guitar.
Yeah. But but put on some Aerosmith, right? So so that didn't, that was okay because I couldn't sing and yada yada yada. But damn, I was good at sports.
Wow,
I was really good at sports.
So, did anyone come to see you that you felt you wanted to have see you?
I remember my friend Shannon, her mom, who used to work at Woolworths. Downtown in St. Paul. Yeah, her name was Dixie. And she used to work the lunch counter at Woolworths. I loved her. And she would come watch us play.
Are you still disappointed?
No. I can honestly say no.
Okay, what did you do with it?
Well, what I did with it was I chalked it up to being an independent person. And you know how you get to a certain age when you're okay with going to a restaurant and eating alone?
Yeah.
Or going to a movie and being at the movie alone?
Yeah, I remember the very first movie I went to that I'm going and I'm just going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know how that is when we're older and we can finally go to a restaurant and not feel awkward like everybody's looking, or we go to a show, and that's how I finally got in high school. That, okay, I'm going to be doing this thing on my own. But what it did do as a mother, I made damn sure I was at every hockey game, skiing event, a volleyball, swimming, equestrian event there was. I never missed one.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you still disappointed about Christmas?
Not those events, but for some things, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the disappointment that I have are for episodes that have changed my life. Disappointed because I thought one thing was happening and something else happened, or something happened and the disappointment is I didn't know the consequences of my actions, or I didn't know the setup that I was getting trapped in. And disappointment. Yeah, I mean, these are big conversations we're actually having about certain situations that anybody who's listening, please know that we can get disappointed from the simplest, oh my God, they didn't show up, to, oh my God, nobody's here.
Yeah.
Or someone let us down or lied to us or hurt our feelings because they don't like us the way we like them. Or they, our fantasy is way bigger than reality. And when reality hits, our fantasy is devastated. So there's so many different things of what am I disappointed by? And so many of them are family dynamics where I'm disappointed with the outcome of the family dynamics. And I'll be honest with you, I was sitting in the soup with it this morning, and I had another moment of, oh, I don't belong to my siblings' family. I don't belong to my siblings' families. I just don't belong. I have been excommunicated, thrown out, eliminated, denied, all this stuff. And I was on the internet this morning, And I was going to my Facebook, and on it was a Facebook display of something from my family. And I saw how ornate it was, how intricate, how incredibly celebratory, how decorative, how festive. And I was alone this Christmas, bones alone. And to see the extreme difference, to see the amount of work that went into it, the amount and to observe it. And I'm going to be really tender with myself here, because it was one of those moments where, what am I going to do with what I'm watching? And this is so important for me to be able to share with anyone who listens to this, in being able to share with you not just the process, but the accountability through the process. I saw it. I took inventory with, oh my God, the amount of work it took. Oh my God, the gathering. Oh my God, there's the family that has thrown me out. Oh my God, they're really living a joyful life, and I'm excluded. And I sat in bed and went, okay, this hurts. Yes, it does hurt. Am I sad? Yes, I am sad. And it's not my family. It's their family. It's not my children. It's my brother's children. I talked myself through it in a way that, well, wait a second, there were things that went down I'm sad about, but my life is something I need to be a part of, and not feel bad because I'm not a part of their life. What is it in their life that I'm seeing? Is that the life I wanted? Is that the life I decided not to have? I mean, I'm talking about an inventory that really was like, I could go down and feel really, really low, or disappointed, or go into a depression. And I walked myself through the reality of, this is my life. I've come through something very profound over the past 7-8 years, within my own marriage, within my own dynamics and whatnot. And I am just at the crest of coming out of a very dark, dark time. And that could have sent me back down into the dark, or like, wait a second, what is real? And this is where, that conversation that we like to have is, what is real? What's real is, they aren't in my life. Am I sad? Yes. Was I heartbroken? Yes. Am I still disappointed? Yes. But does it stop me from living my own life because I'm not in theirs? No. And that's where all the feelings that I have are valued, are valuable, but it is a choice. It's a profound choice to, this is my life. This is the life I'm dealing with. People have a lot of opinions about me and do lots of things to me because I'm who I am. And how do I live in my life so I feel alive? And I made choices today about being vibrant in my life. You and I got to put out information about our class. I mean, it's like we're starting something new. It's like, well, wait a second. There's enough me to not feel empty because I'm not with them. And it was a process. I sat here and I felt like a kid, in my bed with, oh, boy, wow. And it was like, let's grow up. And it wasn't grow up, be big. It was, let's look at what's real. What's really real? Of course I'll be disappointed. Of course my heart is sad. and to honor all the feelings I had without allowing any of them to be suppressed or consume me. And then come into my life again. So that's just as fresh as it can get as of today about the expectation of how do I deal with Christmas being on my own, choosing to be alone, bringing light, making my table, divinely being in what is Christmas to me if I don't have a lot of people to celebrate it with, or the people I would like to celebrate it with. What do we do when we're really alone? And I celebrated Christmas for me. Oh, there we go. Oh my God. And anybody knows when I belch. That was for me. Do you know how many people are, I can tell you about going to Christmases or New Year's Eve with such the expectation of having a wonderful time and coming out of there like, oh God, someone got drunk. Oh God, someone fought. Oh God, someone embarrassed me. Oh God, they said. So, going to the party isn't always a good thing either.
Right. The expectations that we have around it, that maybe this year it'll be different.
Yes.
It'll be better and it's different. Yeah.
Right. Or the expectation that someone will give me what I need or hope I receive something that makes me feel like I'm valued or seen. It gives me a present that I really enjoy rather than something that's like,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I've had years like that, like, oh, no. What about you, Dana?
Well, I think that, and number one, I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. Very sweet. And I mean it. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's a very painful thing.
Yeah.
Because it hits so many cylinders in and throughout time, right? And
and I did a lot for these people throughout my life. So it's not, it's like, I made a lot of life that they got to live with. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Well, right. So there's all kinds of grief and loss and hopes dashed and worse than that. Because it's amazing how sometimes when the great expectation becomes just that, an expectation. People have great expectations about us.
Right.
And there are times when we're never going to fill that expectation that somebody has within themselves about what they expect from us.
Right.
And the expectations unfulfilled. Or, unfulfilled. Why didn't you do that longer, Sandy? Why didn't you give more, Sandy? If you'd only given more, Sandy. Right? We can all fill in the blanks with that.
Right.
If you would have only done more. We thought you were going to do more. You were supposed to do more.
Be what I want rather than me see you for who you are.
Exactly. And that is one of those expectations that we can place on ourselves, and by golly, other people place it on us.
Right.
And forget our realness.
Right.
That we're human beings.
Right.
Yeah.
My dog is way bored. Oh boy, she got into decorations.
Uh-oh. Oh, Lord.
Oh, God. Okay, let me keep talking. I'm just going to get her outside. I'm going to throw her ball outside. Watch here, fetch. Come, get it. Oh, find it. Oh, boy, you give me that and I'll take that. She's got the biggest ribbon in her mouth. You could possibly. She's adorable. So what do you do when someone's disappointed in you?
Well, the first thing I do is I take a look at, did I promise something that I couldn't fulfill?
Right.
What's my skin in the game? Did I promise something that I didn't then fulfill? I try not to do that.
Right.
And if I take a look at all of that and it's just their own expectation of me, um, most oftentimes I'll have a conversation with somebody when they're disappointed in me for whatever it happens to be. If they bring it to my attention, if they don't bring it to my attention, then I never know.
Well, you may not know the obvious, but if someone starts to act differently around
Yes.
you, all of a sudden they're not your familiar anymore, and you go, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I don't like that where you know something's wrong in the soup, and it's like, "Well, what's wrong?" Nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, who you'd understand, and it's like, help me out here, and without being rude, it's or flip or dismissive, but to really be able to, like, what is it are we dealing with? What is expected or what's assumed?
Mm-hmm.
That if you assume something of someone, how many times have you assumed something and it didn't work out?
Right. I think a lot of expectations happen around what we expect or we hope to expect from others, based on our own expectations or hopes or things that we feel we want to have fulfilled, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that disappointment in other people or other people's disappointment in us is really a difficult thing.
It's a hardship.
It is a hardship. And
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm just thinking about this whole subject of expectations that we have. Sometimes there are people who expect that I live a life of purity and chastity and
they're in trouble.
Yeah. That I'm sitting around here in the enchanted forest in saffron robes. And when they find out that, I'm just me.
Right.
That can be disappointing for some people. Yeah. And that's been a hard one. Or that I'm always going to be there to give and to give and to give and to give and to give. Because
what is it? I'm going to interrupt you here.
Yeah.
Because this is when someone wants you to be virtuous.
Yeah.
And their expectation is that of you.
Mm-hmm.
How do they work? What is their manner with you in their fantasy or their assumption or their projection?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens when they catch you or see you or notice that you're human? What's the life space of that? What's the energy that you're talking about that you all of a sudden that somebody's either admiring you or seeing you as a deity? And, do you experience the projection at all? Or are you not knowing?
Yeah, in some cases. And with age, we become really, I have become very much attuned to that. If somebody has put me on a pillar or a pedestal, I have attuned myself to watch for the signs of that. Where they
How do you inform them? How do you inform them that you're not, or that's an inappropriate expectation of you?
Well, as I've gotten older, I will just say, understand that I am who I am. I'm not always in my inipi dress ready to drop ceremony.
Right.
I'm not always that person. Sometimes I'm at a cigar bar.
Right.
Enjoying a really nice bourbon and a really, really nice Ashton cigar.
Right.
Honoring my ancestors.
That's holy to you. But that's a holy act to you.
For me, it is a holy act, yes.
That really is a ceremony to you. So, it may be pleasure, but there is an ambiance to it. There is a sacredness to it. You're not drooling and slathering and groping.
No.
You're in the elegance of something, and there's a certain respect to it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. I mean, smoking a cigar in and of itself with some bourbon is a ceremony. And for me, it's part of my ancestral.
Right.
So, but if you're talking to somebody, maybe if I'm talking to my sister Barbara out on the reservation, the thought of me smoking a big old fat Ashton, and even if I'm using it as a form of divination, because that's usually what I'm doing while I'm
Right.
enjoying a cigar,
Right.
and having a really nice glass of single malt scotch on the rocks and pouring a little of it to my ancestors, it's not, it's frowned upon. So sometimes the expectations and the reality and the disappointments are cultural,
Right.
I think is what I'm saying here.
Right. Okay. So because we're opening up to so many different possibilities of the area that it happens over here, it happens over there, it happens over there. The disappointment in family is one thing. The disappointment of a child is something else. The disappointment in civilizations, the disappointment in cultures, and the idea of how to be holy or sacred.
Right.
I know that I have just the other day, it must be retrograde somewhere. I was going through the disappointment I had in myself in moments that I know I could have been a better person.
Mm.
And this is that place of being asked to do something or being available for something or showing up someplace and knowing that my ego got involved or my feelings, hurt feelings, or a pissiness or something in me, and I will own this, something in me wasn't of the highest vibration for what I was asked to do or wanted to do. And I wonder within myself, what the hell do I do that tweaks me to disappoint or to go in a direction that doesn't, it's not respectful to myself.
Right.
What was I trying to do, or what was off in me? What was the? I want to be very respectful here to the schism in us when I talk about this, because there are times when we shame ourselves or disappoint ourselves, and we have an expectation of ourselves, and we don't hit the mark.
Mm-hmm.
And people then are disappointed, or do we defend ourselves, do we own it? But I can say that there are moments where it's like, I'd like to go back and redo this, or at least acknowledge, yeah, I really fucked up. I wasn't my best person, and I don't always know what, and I mean it, the schism inside me that distorts something and then has something happen where, why did I do that? Why was I adamant about that? What happens in me that would cross that line? And there's several places. It's that, like, I am way human. And I'm not always in that place where, that wasn't my greatest moment.
Mm-hmm.
And disappointing others because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've disappointed my mother, and it's like, well, I'm me, or I'm sorry, or it's that place of life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Life is a part of our behavior. Learning how to be in life is a part of our behavior. And I have great disappointments on some of the things that I have failed in the moment to learn the easy way. If you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
So it's, why did I hold my ground there? Or why didn't I see this over there? And, or why did I break my own heart?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I break my own heart? what was my expectation of someone, that I literally broke my heart, my own heart, with the fantasy or the expectation or the hope or the insistence that it be what I want rather than be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's grief.
Yes.
But
yeah,
that's grief for losing my hope, losing my the war, losing the war.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to fight for this so that we make it, and we don't.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me the goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you lose the war?
Well, to your point, there are situations that I've encountered where I do wish that I could roll back time.
Yeah.
And do more than just offer an apology in the moment.
Right.
But to be able to roll back time, not that I was being willfully whatever, but based on the information that I had, I behaved in one way or acted in one way. And now understanding the disappointment of a situation, had I known, I would have behaved differently. Yeah. Yes.
And it is part of the scar tissue of growing up.
Yes.
You know, it carves into us the memory of the moment, the idea of the moment, and how do we conduct ourselves later on. You know, what drove me? What desire did I have? Or what motivation did I have? Or how did I want someone to see me or show myself as being? I mean, the innocence or even the the distortion of my own character, because I wanted someone to be what I wanted them to be rather than who they were. And I distorted myself in being that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever felt you distorted yourself?
Yes.
What happens there? How do you recover from that? And I want everybody to hear that what we're talking about is normal. We go through these phases where we're contortionists of our own psyche or our own self-preservation of thinking what we want is what we should have, and it's not going to happen. And we deal with powers that don't always come our way. So this is human nature. Mm-hmm. Please continue.
Well, there are times where I think when you're younger, you become an altered version of yourself or a safe version of yourself in order to fit in, to comply, to meet expectations. And the older we get, I'll speak for myself, the older I get, and I hate it when people just say, I am who I am, deal with it. I become more consciously aware of who I am today and how to care for myself. And I think that we're not caring for ourselves, we're not nurturing ourselves when we are donning the mask of something that's more palatable or seen as acceptable socially, that will keep us in certain relationships. That is so detrimental to who we are. And we pay a price for that with our health, with our health, with our understanding of who we are, and frankly, in our growth.
Right.
At some point, we have to be okay with other people being disappointed in us.
Right.
Or wary of us.
And disappointing us. And then do something about it rather than, please stop disappointing me.
Right.
How about you see that, who are they and what's really happening?
Exactly. Yes. And, well, you and I are teachers. I've been teaching for 24 years. You've been teaching for a lot longer than that. And
I've been teaching since I'm 23.
Yep. So for 50 some years, you've been teaching.
Oh, yeah.
For 24 years, I've been teaching. And people have an expectation of me as a teacher, as a facilitator. And I've also had expectations of those that take classes with me or from me, or,
Right.
that are present with me in the teachings.
Right.
And I've had expectations of who those people are, and sometimes been so disappointed to the place of tears and questioning, do I really want to do this anymore?
Wow. As teaching?
Yes. Yes.
Gasp.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that's a whole other conversation you and I are going to have on the side.
Yeah.
But that's what brings you to that, Dana?
When I discover subterfuge, subterfuge.
What does that mean to you?
What that means to me is that I'm teaching or I'm facilitating, and not everybody is there in a good way or for a good purpose. And sometimes they're purposefully to look for fault and error. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. Well, that brings the hair up on the back of my head.
Yeah.
So this is a wonderful opportunity, and you and I will talk about this privately so that everybody, knows that this is one of those sacred moments where it's like, we'll go over here and talk about this too. Interestingly enough, there's that place in me as a teacher that for years really wanted people to like what I was doing or to trust what I was doing was real. I'm in a business of psychological, spiritual, thought-provoking, and culturally or religiously demonized by some people. So to go out there in a world and even into other countries that if I say certain words, they attack me because I don't have the vocabulary that they approve of as an American for us to say.
Mm-hmm.
I learned really hard and very fast and very awkwardly and very talk about being in the arena with some big bullshit. The projections of who has it right, who has it more right, who has the right, who is more righteous. And my heartache came with, I'm just here because I love what I do and I love spirit, and this is all I have to do.
Yes.
And I say that with such dignity, and I say it with such tenderness for the me that goes through that, had to go through that it's all I had out of all the things I could have had. That was it, myself and my spirit and my spiritual desire to team up with energy and to go out and trust that it is my ally and would bring to me a life and provide a life. What I was horrified by in the expectation of, if I'm in agreement with my spirits, if they bring me someplace or if they tell me something's going to happen, that it would all be good and I would be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we're talking about in many, many ways with our expectations is, are we safe when we have our expectations?
Right.
Are we safe enough to have great expectations? how unsafe are we when our expectations annihilate us? We're not safe anymore. We're not safe to be what we believe in ourselves or know ourselves to be, or safe to expose ourselves. And so I hear what you're saying, and is it safe for you to expose yourself?
Yes.
And that to me is a come to Jesus meeting between you and yourself and all that you are, which needs to be respected so profoundly for whatever reasons that your expectations of your safety have been denied or encountered in ways that have exhausted you or make you question your ability to teach or your desire to teach.
Yeah.
And that my heart breaks.
Yeah. It would be my desire, not my ability, because I know that what I teach is good and meaty and weighty and all of those things. I know that it's my desire.
Well, yeah, we get tired.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, burnout, exhaustion. Also, it's what is it that you're tired of? You say that's subterfuge, but what inside you energetically is tired?
Of people presenting themselves in relationship to me in one way, and I accept that, only to find out that it's very, 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 very different and disappointing and hurtful, frankly. And I don't think that's out of a place of naivety. I think it's out of a place of misplaced trust.
Yeah.
And we can misplace, as teachers, we can misplace our trust, because if there's one thing that can be said about me, I am a very loyal person. Like my little dog here, Isla, she's laying here right next to me. I am like that with my students, with my friends, etc. And it's always disappointing when you find out a student who's more than just a student,
right,
that you've shared personal things with.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because you've gone beyond, here's the lesson, etc., etc. You've become something of friends.
Right.
Or really good acquaintances. That, for me, is really, really tough. And I don't think it gets any easier for me. So I have this expectation of people who come to class, not that they be perfect, but that they're not there to harm me. Because for me, my classes are sacred space. And so somebody is in my sacred space, a space that I'm holding, and they are coming in with ill intent.
You're speaking about something that is the lacing through a Scorpio's life, my love.
Yeah, it is. Very, very truly.
And it, unfortunately, is a path we have born into and a path people stand on waiting for us to show up.
Yeah. Yes.
And as you're talking, I'm listening to you very carefully, and it also stirs the memories of episodes in my life that the idea that everybody is willing to get along is the expectation.
Yes.
That we're all together, we're in it together. We all want to find love in this, or home, or agreement to belong. And I've said this throughout the years, that if there's anything we really all want, it's to belong.
Yes.
and to belong to someone, have someone belong to us, or to belong somewhere, or to feel that we're included. It is a primal experience that we yearn for. It's not something we think about as, oh, I think I want to belong. It is a craving.
Yes.
I mean, it's the baby looking to suckle. It needs to belong to this person, so you being an orphan, there's a tragedy in there that is so profound right from the get-go. And so there's that place in my scorpionic shock in my own family is within my siblings. I thought we would all just get together. I thought we would all just love each other forever. I thought that this was my first sister. Why don't you love me? I love you. Why don't you love me? Mm. So my expectation originally is not an expectation. It's the assumption that if I love you and if we belong together, there should just be love, right? That is my core identity. It's not a thought I developed. I know I was born with that as, of course we're all going to get along. This is great. I'm here. Happy days are here again.
Yep.
I'm back.
Very true.
And they called me Giggly Gert because whenever they showed up in to look at my bassinet, I was already giggling. And I said to my mother, I believe many years later, I believe the reason I was giggling and when you all showed up is because I could feel you coming and I was happy to have you show up.
Right. You're still that way.
You noticed?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And it's just who my skin is.
Yes.
It's my heart. And so to be rebuffed, to be, turned like, wait, wait a minute, what? Or to be, not included is like, oh boy, yoing, yoing, yoing. But the heartache of being thrown out, the heartache of, when I think of the healing centers that I co-facilitated in creating and the people that, way back in the beginning, it's not naivety, it was my innocence.
Yes.
The innocence in thinking, I want to create a space of love. I want people to come who want to be in the space of love. And I want the love to be able to create love. And the agenda against love is honestly devastating.
Yes.
That there are people who cannot tolerate the innocence of love.
Mm-hmm.
So our scorpionic beings, and for anybody else, it's not just Scorpio, I'm saying this to everybody, that when we have the innate natural desire to be loved, to share love, and be in the expectation of, I'm here because I'm willing to be here. I'm willing to develop friendship. I'm willing to share. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to include, and I'm willing to be included.
Yes.
And I say that in the way that I feel it. I am willing to include first, not just be included. Because there is this place inside me that wants to be included, but I want to include people in my life.
Yes.
That I care about. I'm saying something that I'm listening to for the first time. It's like, I choose you to be in my life because I want you in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in your life, but I really want you to be in my life.
Right.
So, I want you in my life. I want to share with you my life, my thoughts, I want to include you in my psyche and join forces.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we do that with our partners, with our lovers. I mean, I want to include them in my heart. And then, of course, I want to be included in theirs.
Exactly.
But that naivety of, if I give you my love, you'll love me. That expectation comes from the innocence of a child that is shocked to her core with, what do you mean, no?
Exactly.
And that you're played along with, so the drop is really from on high.
Yes. Lily,
that makes me want to cry.
Yeah. Lily and Carla Joe are talking about karma a little bit.
Yes.
Lily is saying, I've learned that sometimes we aren't always meant to be with everyone we love forever because we either outgrow them or our karma is done. It's not always easy. To which Carla Joe responded, Lily, it is never easy when we grow apart.
No.
Because there are times we encounter growing apart from people we never ever dreamed. We have expectations, whether it's our children, our family, our spouse, our lover, our friends. Boys, when we're not expecting it and it just happens either slowly or suddenly, that dose of reality is really, really hard for me.
Right. You know, and to also be fair, we just don't get along with everybody.
No, we don't.
It just doesn't fit. There's a few people I've tried to be friends with, and it's like, it's a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, that didn't work, so all right, I'm fine.
Never mind.
Like I said, I wasn't included, but it's like, it's like, keep going.
Uh-huh.
And to not feel like I'm the failure, but that this just doesn't have the connection.
Yeah.
It doesn't match.
Yeah.
And when it does, there's an elixir, there's an excitement, there's a joy. And I do know that there's that expectation that it's going to last. So it is, like Carla Joe says, it's heartbreaking when it doesn't last or can't.
Right.
And, we may outgrow people, but there are people who outgrow us.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, you went where for what reason? And I'm sitting here going, what?
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. They just went in another direction, and I am sitting here in this moment having an emotion with when you said you would talk to somebody, or you go back and you get to go back in time and to heal something. And there have been people, that I have not talked to in years and years and years. And all of a sudden, some people are showing up in my life where I've been able to say, wait a second, this is what I did. This part of it's on me. Mm-hmm. This, I want to be very fair here. One of the first times I did this, literally, is after I did the program. This is in the 70s, early 70s, or mid, whatever it was, in the 70s, after doing EST. And EST is one of those great forums that is now the forum, actually, that, you see accountability, you see how you set up your disasters and who did what and who did it. And it was the very first place that I saw that my mother and I literally destroyed my first husband's life. Her and my dynamic. Her dynamic. I could go through so many layers of resentment and hate and controlling and all this other stuff. But he was the one that got snagged. I had not talked to him in 7 years.
Wow.
And I took EST, and I wanted to call him and apologize. I had to find him because I know that he was so judged and blamed and took the hit for the elitism of my mother's and my relationship, the way that it took us down. It's one of those moments where I got really sassy smart. I go, wait a second, I'm a minister. I'm going to call the U.S. Navy, and I'm going to tell them I'm a minister and I need to find. And I did. I called the U.S. Navy. I'm Reverend Sandra Herrick. I know that you have a gentleman in the. They found my ex-husband in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
They gave me his name, here's his number, everything else, and it's like, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. I'm like, oh, this works.
Uh-huh.
But my heart was doing it, not my ego. And when my ex-husband, heard it was me, because when they finally said, this reverend is looking for you, here's her number, blah, and it's like, what? And I said, John, it's Sandy. She said what to me in the tone, and we all know how important tone is, as if we had fought that morning.
Oh.
It struck my heart so hard to think, this is exactly why I need to talk to him, because he's carrying this and it's still fresh.
Wow. 7 years later.
7 years later. And to be able to let him know it wasn't about him, it wasn't him. It was that chaos in my mother, in me. I could feel my heart wanting to cry. And to hear his voice lighten, his heart open, and him be free of the horror of what we did to him, out of the expectation that we had for him, for my mother, blah, 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 blah. But it's that place of, we do hold on to our pain, even if we put it to the side. So if someone does come back and say, I am sorry, or this hurt me, well, do we want to do something about it, or does it have to stay that way?
Mm-hmm.
Is it safer to keep the hurt because you don't want your heart open again? I mean, there are people I can't ever open my heart to again.
Yes.
And they are in my heart forever, but I can't open my heart to them. I could even sit with them and talk to them and but I can't open my heart to them.
Mm-hmm.
That safety, once my heart literally is like, so Sandy, you've got to be, I've got to keep you safe, because you don't know what you're doing with me now.
Right.
And that's my heart to me.
Yes.
And so, how does your heart talk to you, Dana?
Well, in that very same way. And, as it has been pointed out throughout my entire lifetime, when the disappointment is great and the voice within me says, what have you allowed to be done to you, or what have you done to yourself because of, I get very, very quiet. And I go very, very quiet.
Where do you go when you go quiet?
Spirit.
Did you always go to Spirit? Did you know that
Yes.
that was where you went?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. As a young child, Spirit was safe. And so I was always more familiar with Spirit because the physical world was too harsh.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. When the Sarge adopted me, I was a mute. I did not speak. And I didn't speak for a long time after he adopted me. They adopted me. Because of the physical abuse at the hands of the people who first adopted me. She was extraordinarily abusive on a daily basis. I would expect my daily beating, and as a toddler, walk up to her and prepare myself for it. And I continued that behavior when the Sarge brought me home. He said it was really something to watch. you didn't speak, but you would walk up with your hands out, ready to be hit. And he said it took a long time for you to break that pattern. But so humans were not safe. Spirit was safe. And I can recall my only recollections as a child, from my childhood, I should say, are my interactions with the spirit world. So to this day, when I'm horribly saddened or disappointed, discouraged, I sit with spirit because that is my safe space.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I do. What do? Do you get quiet? Do you get loud? What happens?
It depends on the situation, and I mean that in all the most sincere ways. I mean, if I'm disappointed, I can explode. I mean, I can go nuclear. It depends, and I have. I mean, when somebody literally, I mean, oh God, one of my lovers came in and he broke my heart and I almost bit his finger off. I started going, I just went insane in the room, and he grabbed me from behind and put his arms around me to stop me. And his hand was up to my mouth and I just put my mouth over his thumb joint and bit, and I almost took his finger off. I mean, there's there's a rage inside me. And that rage is not a decision.
Mm-hmm.
That rage is provoked to a place of it ignites, because the insanity of the moment, the cruelty of the moment is beyond my ability to tolerate or even comprehend. And when that rage happens, I level things. It gets leveled, and there's a power inside of me that people have been frightened by. But I'm clearing it's like it's going down, whatever it is.
Hold on to your hat.
I've been there, done that, and again, it's that rage that is so fearless that the counter to that is being so quiet, because I'm so in fear of, if I say anything, the consequences of it would be too much to risk.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's part of the dynamic of the expectation of, I just want you to be nice to me. I don't want to have to ask for it. Because if I ask for it and then you're not nice to me, the consequences are, oh my God, now what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then whenever that explosion would come, and I know that now there's a place that it's like 3 clicks in my brain. I can feel them. It's like, it's like, oh God, here it goes, done. I can also go very, very quiet, but I have to travel. I'll get in my car. I've got to go. I mean, I used to get on my horses. It's just, I get in the car and I go.
Yeah.
And I will describe something to you in the first time Bobby did it with me, way back in the beginning of our friendship. I mean, I was so outraged with him. It was on Valentine's Day, the whole thing. And the next morning I came up and I confronted him, and he said the wrong thing about the wrong thing.
Uh-oh.
It wasn't going good. Even in the attempt to have a conversation, it didn't work out. And I got in the car. I was on. Poison darts were completely in my tether here, and someone calmed me down. I actually went to confront somebody, and I went into this building to confront this person with what the hate that they had to destroy me and Bobby, the hate that they had to say something that would just, like, excuse me, what? You're saying what to me? And interestingly enough, I walk in to confront this person, and there is this man standing in the middle of this restaurant, and he looks at me, he goes, Sandy. And I look at him, I go, oh. And he detoured me from the person I was going to talk to into his arms. He gave me a hug. He kissed me on the cheek. How are you? And everything inside me calmed down.
Aww.
Someone called me to their heart.
Mm.
And I asked if you want to have a cup of coffee. No, can't. But it was like I realized they took me off the expectation of my own need, not to get revenge, but to be just.
Yeah.
To have justice.
Yeah.
And then I got in my car and I drove, and I realized I drove past the road that would have taken me home. And I looked in my passenger seat, and there was my 5-year-old little girl. And she just looked up at me and she goes, we're running away, okay?
Aww.
And that's about how old I was the first time I ran away.
Mm.
So something that she initially ran away from was still inside me, able to be hurt, where it's like, let's run.
Yeah.
And I ended up driving to so far away from here, and I went and saw a movie actually with what was the one with the it was a great movie, Avatar. I saw Avatar, and I went there, and I was sitting in this great big the 3D movie theaters.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sitting there by myself because I got there early. And I thought, oh, good, I'm going to watch it by myself. And then I realized, oh, God damn, people are coming in.
Doggone it.
I know. It was like, oh, this might be a mistake. I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed because people are sitting next to me. And a man on either side of me. And I sat there and I said, if they do one thing, they're going to be decapitated. If they sneeze, if they cough, if they fart, it's over. If I smell them, they're dead. And it was like, and there I'm watching this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful movie. And, but as I'm looking at it, the running away was I ran to someplace that was magical.
Yeah.
Absolutely magical to be in that room, to be in the 3D, to be in the atmosphere. And it allowed me to come back to me in a way that allowed me to drive home and to be calm. But we're talking hours and hours and hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I want everybody to be able to hear that we all process this differently, and however we're hurt or violated or sucker punched or gasped in the shock of our expectation being so let down, you have to care for yourself.
Yes.
You have to take it seriously that this is a real reaction to a real trauma, because the expectation now becomes a trauma-making product inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
When it's been denied or deflated or sucker punched or realized.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody did not give me the dream, the bubbles burst. And so when I go to quiet and drive, I mean, I can say to you, one of the last times I was quiet beyond belief was when I broke up with my partner, who I lived with her 14 years, sorry, and or she broke up with me, and I was so stunned at something, at at what I didn't know, what I didn't see, what I did not allow to be received in my psyche as, Sandy, please look at the truth. I drove for 3 days. I didn't do it. I stopped for the hotel. I had coffee and went to the bathroom. I didn't listen to the radio. I didn't talk. I didn't eat. And when I got to my destination, I walked in and my friend Lori just said, come on, I'm going to put you to bed. She put me to bed, laid me down, kissed me on my forehead, and I slept for a couple of days.
Wow.
And called my psychiatrist in Santa Fe and said, I need help. I'm broken. I need help. So I want everybody to hear that this can have a spectrum from breaking you apart to cracking you, and the light has to come in or go out.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're actually talking about here tonight is radical. And when we're hurt from our expectations, we can be devastated and wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
Just wiped out. Because our dreams are broken.
Yes.
And we're not safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it's better. And, I know enough now I put myself to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I just go lay down, let my nerves calm down, let my wattage recycle, drink, water, not alcohol, drink, and be still. And then slowly but surely find my footing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing that for the past few months.
Mm-hmm.
Just finding my footing again. You've re-navigated your life.
Mm-hmm. I have.
How are you finding your footing?
Well, it's the old adage, one day at a time, some days.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when we find ourselves not reinventing ourselves. I wouldn't say reinventing, but allowing more of our authentic self to come through.
Exactly.
And people may look at that and say, well, she's reinvented herself. No, I'm allowing more authenticity to come through.
Absolutely.
And that is a process. I'm authentic around the people who know me. You've seen me authentic. Most of the people that are listening and in the chat room tonight have seen me very authentic. But for the general public, not so much. So I am learning the art of discernment.
Right.
That's a process for me, probably a lifetime process for me. The art of discernment. And in this phase, getting a lot more hermit-like. And not because I'm shying away from the world, but because I'm finally saying that I need to take better care, or finally take really good care of me.
There's the beauty of the cave.
Yes.
And cave time is mandatory to anybody that works with anything that has anything to do with wattage, energy, developing wisdom, teaching. You have to hibernate.
Yeah.
You have to. Otherwise, you're overexposed.
Yes.
And that's breakdown material.
Yes. So, Sandy, we're well beyond our hour. What would you like to leave everyone with this evening as we all have expectations for 2024. We had expectations for 2023. What are your final thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, we made it through 23. Happy New Year. I'm at the entrance of my cave, which means I'm at the place where I can go out and I can go in, but I'm not hiding in the back or recuperating in the back. I'm dancing with the light, and I feel that the winter solstice is part of the beauty, and the full moon is part of the beauty of I'm expanding myself, but I'm not stretching myself. And I'm learning that to come away from this cave time that I've been in, that I needed to go in, is because I overextended myself. I mean, anybody that's listening, you know, Bobby and I have gone through cancer, through all sorts of things. It's been 5 chronic years. And I'm spent.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a devotion. It's to my life. It's to my husband. It's to someone I love. There were choices. There were rechoices. And now it's that place of he's safe enough where I can back down from having to be so on patrol so I can start taking care of myself again. And withdrawal from having to be on all the time is withdrawal.
Yes.
You go into the withdrawal of, do I have to do, no, just sit down. I did it. No, sit down. But no, sit the fuck down.
Uh-huh.
And stay down. And so to allow the withdrawal of the nervous system to heal is where I am. And my nervous system is just at that place where, I can smell the air. I appreciate the light, but I am so cocooned, because I just don't want to electrocute myself. So I value your need to not electrocute yourself, Dana.
Yes.
And insist in supporting you there. So for 24, holy God, I hope America survives. I really do. The pimple is popping no matter what. Here it comes. There's no right, there's no wrong. There's just exposure.
Yes.
And we're fools if we thought we were safe because they did the Constitution and, 17, whatever it was. It's like we're human beings and we're critical creatures. And I'm sad because I did have an expectation that we would be peaceful. I'm sad that peace is not here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're scratching at it again.
Yes.
I had an expectation out of the 60s that we would be better by now. And I am disappointed about that.
Yes.
So, and you, my love?
Well, I've garnered a couple of words from Mel Robbins, who I really enjoy her work. And one of the things that I have learned to help me cope with expectations not met of my own doing, my own thought of expectations or what I expect, are 2 words: let them. And letting go of control of what others are doing or what we thought they think they should be doing, or what we feel would be better for them if they were doing, or all of those sorts of things that we interject ourselves in because we waste a whole lot of time thinking about other people and how they've not met our expectations, or how we're hoping they will meet our expectations. And so I've adopted Mel's words: let them. Just let people be themselves. Let them do what they're going to do.
That was me this morning watching my family's Christmas.
Yes, let them.
Absolutely. Well said, Dana.
Let them. And be content in your own life, and let other people be content in their lives without expectations. Placing expectations upon them, but to simply let them. Let them.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it. Let them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to do it with respect and love.
Yes.
Not an attitude of like,
No.
let that. It really is about allowing yourself the release
Mm-hmm.
from the expectation of what they have to provide you with.
Yes. Let them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them be who they are.
Let
Brilliant.
them be who they are. Yes. So
Yeah.
With that, everyone, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, San.
Happy New Year, Dana. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next year. This has been a wild ride.
It has been.
Buckle up. It's going to get bumpier.
Hold on to your hat. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. I love you all. Good night, Dana.
Good night.